on to the Smart Property Investment Show with your host, Phil Tarrant.
Hello everyone, welcome to the show. A bit of a special insight into someone who's made a bit of a journey from a country far, far away. Sounds like a Star Wars movie, but I have our guest today, William Magee, who is an Irishman, and I won't hold that against him.
I think paddy's the term over here.
A paddy. We do have a paddy wagon. He's a paddy. He's been in Australia for a little bit of time now, and he's going to share his story about maybe wasted 5 years of being an Irishman in Sydney and enjoying himself too much and not buying property to finally making the move into becoming a property investor. He's going to tell us all about it. Will, how you going? Thanks for joining us.
Good, Phil. Thanks for having me on the show. Big fan.
Is paddy a term of endearment, or is it a
yeah, I don't think anybody from Ireland would really take offence to that, unless it was from an English person, obviously. But
paddy.
Yeah, I think that's fine with us. I know Poms don't take well to being called Poms, but I think we can see it as a term of endearment.
Well, you know, we're recording this not long after. Well, we're actually recording this on the day of the World Cup final, and the English were noticeably absent, and there's a lot of English people that work within the business behind smart property investment, and they had their heads in their hands. But there's not too many sore heads around here today.
No, I suppose it's good for business that the English weren't in the final. Allez le bleu. The Croats and the French. I don't think anyone would have predicted that final, but I didn't stay up for it myself. 1 a.m. is not the most ideal time to be up watching a game, but by all accounts, I hear it was a pretty awesome match. I hear that the French were pretty incredible.
Yeah, I didn't get up for it. I saw the results on the TV, and I went, okay, I expected that. But anyway, it's not about football, it's about property investment.
Footballing podcast. Yeah.
So I've known you for 3-4 years probably now, I think.
Oh mate, it's been 4.5, 5 years. Yeah, 4.5 years now. Yeah,
it was quite some time. So you're an Australian? No, you're not yet.
No, I'm not. So I mean, I got my permanent residency the week before last. So prior to getting my permanent residency, I actually couldn't apply for a mortgage for a loan here in Australia. So that's I know you think I've been dragging my feet, and that's why.
So is that your excuse? Is it?
Yeah, well, that's the excuse. We kind of myself and my brother, just to, I suppose, go back.
Yeah, what's the backstory
to the start? So myself and my bro, we were living in Ireland up until 2012. Ireland, not the, I suppose, what wasn't the best place in the world to be living at that time. Tail end of the GFC, wasn't the best place, I suppose, number one, from a job perspective. And number two, in terms of the weather, the place isn't great either. So, pretty dour, Monday to Friday, getting the bus into work, chucking down rain, living for the weekend, not really much of a great lifestyle, and not having, any money to really do anything. I was working in a job in Ernst & Young, pushing a trolley around, delivering files to people my own age, that I went to college with, that were, had reasonable accountancy jobs. They were lucky that they'd come out and manage to secure roles. And as a salesman or a prospective salesman, there wasn't a huge amount there for me because the economy wasn't stimulated. There wasn't much going. There was just no roles, and so I found myself pushing a trolley around, making less than 20,000 euros a year. My brother was working on this thing called a job bridge scheme, and he had a first in his degree in international business, a master's in international business, and a postgrad in digital marketing. And he found himself working in like a student card company where he was collecting the dole, but getting an extra $50 on top of his dole every week as an incentive to work a 9 to 5 Monday to Friday job. So it just wasn't a great place to be at the time. There wasn't a huge amount of prospects for people of my age. So we decided, both of us, to make the move to Oz. And one of the things that we both identified quite early on is that property investment is obviously a great way to generate wealth and, I suppose, secure your financial future. So it's been something that's been on the radar for quite some time, and we'd saved up together enough money to I suppose secure that 10% deposit. And yeah, for it's just been a waiting game now until permanent residency has come through, be able to engage both a broker, a buyer's agent, and now an accountant as well.
So you had to wait in order to secure a mortgage until you had permanent residency?
Yeah.
So
that's
beforehand you're on a 457?
457, then a 186 bridging visa, which takes you into your PR. So I'm on permanent residency now.
So you're not messing around. You've only had a couple of weeks. And
we're just sitting and so we actually engaged the buyer's agent a year and a half, 2 years ago. I genuinely thought that the PR was going to come through a lot quicker, but actually took over 12 months because there's such a backlog. So we weren't able to make any further steps. But now, it's no messing around. The buyer's agent's already sourcing property for us. We've signed the paperwork off with the broker this morning as well. So next step is just to get our house in order with the accountant to kind of, crystallise that strategy that's been presented to us by the buyer's agent.
So what structure are you buying in? You're buying with your brother, right?
I am. So this is actually something that we hadn't even thought about, that the buyer's agent brought to us, but he said, mate, look, I see this every day, people buying together. And he goes, it needs to be thought of as a business if you're buying with someone else. And we said, yeah, no, absolutely. And he goes, well, things can happen down the line. And look, if you're the one with permanent residency and it's going to be bought in your name, this can create all kinds of issues down the road. What I'd recommend, and he goes, I recommend this to absolutely anyone who's looking to purchase with anyone else. You never know what's going to happen in future. One of you guys could end up married and, things could be tied up into estates and it just create issues for you. He goes, you need to go away and make a trust. So call it the Magee trust or whatever you want to call it, but everything needs to be bought through that trust in order for you guys to be able to dissect things in the future if necessary. You buying property in your name and then Michael buying property in his name and then keep going back and forth. It's not a clean way of doing things and it's just going to cause issues for you down the line. So engaging the accountant now, that's the first port of call. Get a trust set up for the two of us.
Okay, so that advice is probably reasonably sound in that if you're buying with someone, you need to be aware of all the complications of doing it.
Yeah.
A lot of people go into relationships buying property together with the best interests in heart, but often they all fall to pieces. And little things like one of you gets married, and what happens, and you've got someone else with a voice in there, and the poor women of Sydney to marry one of the Magees. It's good advice, but it's not necessarily always the fact of investing in a trust, though. It's a lot more expensive to invest in a trust. There's some complications around it in terms of land tax issues and all. I don't know where you're buying, but it's well worth it. If you're thinking about buying with someone, and it's not advice for you, it's advice for our listeners, you need to speak to a really good accountant that gets property and understands the process, because you need to be thinking about the future, thinking about what happens in all the what ifs that may happen, and be best positioned to do so. So that's cool, though.
Sure.
So,
Well, that's what the buyer's agent said. He said, so he's actually linked us up with the accountant. This guy's he's an expert in property investment.
Okay.
He said, look, mate, this is what I've seen. This is how I think you guys should progress. But different states have different tax implications, and there's all different considerations that you need to look at here. He goes, look, I can tell you top line stuff, but you really need to talk to this guy to crystallise that.
That's sage counsel, that, and let us know how you go with that and what you end up doing. So, have you got a loan sorted out yet, or you've?
Yeah. So I've just signed off on all the paperwork there.
Okay.
To the broker's going to get us pre-approval now.
Good.
For up to 500,000, 500,000.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that allows the buyer's agent to obviously go and do his thing now, knowing what the bracket is that he can work within. So,
do you know where you're looking to buy?
We haven't. So, he showed us a few different options in terms of. Well, he showed us where the different states are in terms of their cycles, but he didn't actually make any specific recommendations at that meeting. So I think that's it. Next steps is proposals. So for us, we don't really care if it's in New South Wales or Queensland or, in Tasmania or wherever it may be. We might not even go and see the property. It's just whether it's a sound investment. So yeah, we'll leave that in his capable hands to come back and show us some options. We're open to everything at this stage.
So what's a sound investment look like for you? Is this long-term wealth creation? So you're looking for properties, obviously, that are going up in value as quickly as possible. How much
Yeah,
is the sort of rental yield part of it?
Oh, well, we've been told 5.5% to 6% is what we should be looking at in, current average markets across the board. So, we're willing to accept that. I know, people will read articles, or 12, 13% or, some crazy stuff like that. We're a bit more realistic, I think. We're not planning on buying and selling. We're going to sit on these for a couple of cycles. The idea being that we're going to continue purchasing using our saving power alone over the next 3 years. So ideally, we'd like to save $37,500 each year in order to get 75 grand in order to keep buying at the level that we're buying at. So maybe in 3-4 years time, then we could potentially look at extracting equity from any of these properties, or look at, doing the more advanced, intricate things like subdividing or developing or whatever it might be. But first steps are first 3 years. Save, buy, then look to start extracting equity, and then potentially get that multiplier effect within the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah. So this is really a wealth creation strategy. So
correct.
Using your savings to park it in property,
sure,
and sit on that for as long as possible before you start drawing down equity. And for you to save $37,000, is that going to change your lifestyle at all, or is it just being a bit smarter with?
Oh, it's been a bit smarter. I think I'm one of those people that will. I haven't been great with my savings, so I'll typically spend what's available to me.
Yeah.
So if I can park it away, I'll be able to live on whatever's there. Whatever's there. What's that old Warren Buffett thing? You save what you have and you spend what's left over. I've probably been good at spending what I have and then saving what's left over. But now, obviously, when there's, I suppose, responsibilities and payment structures that you have to meet, and you need to be accountable to another person. So myself and my brother running this as a business, then I'll set up a direct debit or a standing order to move this money into an account on a monthly basis, where it stops me going, we managed to save for the first property within a single year, so there's no reason why we shouldn't be able to continue doing that. We both make reasonable money in our jobs, in our current roles, so we shouldn't be scrimping and scraping. But it shouldn't impact my life too heavily. I just need to be a little bit smarter. Probably stop buying people rounds, or one less night out a month.
It makes all the difference. With you and your brother, who's the sort of the driver of this initiative? Is it you both invested as much as each other, or? Yeah,
no, we're definitely both. I think it's something we both
talk about. It's not
financial.
I'm talking about emotionally.
I think it's something that we're both majorly involved in. Emotionally, we're both emotionally invested in this. I think we both talk about it equally as much. We both follow the news. We follow this podcast, and we both we're both. It's definitely 50-50 at this point. Whether that will change down the road, whether one of us will become more heavily invested in our role in the business, or something else on the side, whatever it might be, or maybe we'll just fall out of love with property because it's not delivering what we'd expected initially. But at the moment, going into this, we're both we're equal partners.
It's a really good strategy, and I see this a lot from people who want a little bit more out of their life. They don't want to go into business per se, but they want to see themselves take control of their financial future. And you're in a perfect position in that. Well, you and your brother, in that you both have careers, really good careers, and you generate good income, but you're able to use the cash flow that creates for you and turn that into a wealth creation strategy. So you can have this essentially it's a business on the side in many ways. You're the master of your own domain. You get to make decisions, and I think a lot of people crave that, who work sort of in a sort of a corporate job, right?
Sure.
Having that decision-making power to make a difference for themselves, but have the confidence that they have that regular cash flow coming in. People that go and sort of set up business for themselves often never buy property because it's such a hungry beast and they never get there. So it sounds like a smart strategy.
Yeah, we're really excited about it. Yeah, just when it feels like we've been waiting so long to get the foot on the ladder, and now that it's right there.
So you have to take the mortgage because you're okay, and so does only therefore take your ability to service the debt into it, or
so my income will allow that anyway,
Yeah.
which is good. It doesn't create any problems in terms of getting the loan.
Yeah.
We were smart in that we both saved into my savings account from the outset. So Michael will
like your
transfer money
savings.
across,
Yeah.
and then obviously they only take the last 3 months worth of statements. So when it looks at it,
nice
not that
and
we're pulling the wool over anyone's eyes,
Yeah.
but it just it shows consistency and it shows my capability. So it's I'll take it on my name from the outset. Hopefully my brother doesn't drop me in it.
So what's the long-term plan? So you want to create like a pretty reasonable property portfolio?
Yeah, well, look, I mean, when we moved over here, just seeing the opportunities that have been afforded to other people in terms of property investment, and that's, reading about it, but also seeing people that I work with generate these incredible portfolios. Obviously, a huge amount of work, but, Jim, I think, that works with us has over 10 properties now, and he's been in the game for maybe only 10 years, and it's just seeing that, how someone can become, I suppose, not a property tycoon, but, like that would never have been something that we could have imagined living in Ireland, to own that, I suppose, that amount of assets, so, I mean, it's something that we really want to achieve. It's something that is a very obvious way for us to perhaps, if we wanted, have early retirement, but really just without thinking about that, generate wealth. That's the name of the game, isn't it?
Well, it gives you that option, right?
Yeah,
If you
exactly.
want to do retire. But going back to the point I made, the fact that you're in well-paying jobs where you get the stability associated with it, but using that money, cash flow to actually generate these deposits, and you're amplifying it by two, right? Because there's two people invested in this particular program. So, it just goes back to making sure you save as much as possible as quick as possible. And it becomes a bug as well. Like when you start seeing savings mount up, you can start just adding that little bit more. If you save another $400, $500 a month, which is a couple of nights out, right? You start seeing that amplification so quickly, and you get the bug with it. That's good.
Big time. We're definitely lucky. You read a fair bit about people getting their first property, and it might not be the right one to talk about. The first property is just so important, getting it right, and their strategy is obviously looking to potentially extract equity, but it's the wrong time in the cycle. It might be years until they can be at a point where they can take money out, and obviously the banks are making that a little bit harder as well, but take money out and invest it into the next property. We're just quite fortunate that we're in decent paying jobs, and that's just two of us. So we're pretty comfortable with that strategy.
So why are you using a buyer's agent? Because you just don't have the time, inclination, knowledge?
I don't have the knowledge, I mean, even sitting down and the recommendation alone about putting this into a trust, that would have been something that we probably never would have thought about. Something so simple, which will save us a mega headache down the line. I don't have the knowledge. Number two, it's an absolute time saver. I'd hate to have to be flying interstate, once a month or every couple of weeks, with the hope to finding a property, which may never come to fruition. Or these guys, have someone in each state continuously going around, looking at all these. It's just, they're putting the legwork in for you. I suppose it's a cost benefit analysis, isn't it? We could be waiting, maybe a year before we find something, and that's just that's another 12 months so you don't have your foot on the property ladder. These guys can get it for you.
Well, this is it also, it's actually thinking like a business person, cost benefit analysis, the speed to market versus waiting, being in the market rather than looking at the market. But also keeping your headspace clear in that, concentrate on what you can really control, and that is your ability to amplify your earnings, and then you get the upside benefits of that because it means you can secure properties faster. I always reckon in business you pay people to do jobs better than you can do it yourself,
exactly.
and that's the way I view using a buyer's agent or a really good accountant or a mortgage broker. They can do the job so much better than I can, so I'm happy to pay for the privilege, and gives me bandwidth to actually do what I can do, and that's generate income elsewhere. So,
of course. I mean, if it's going to make you more money in the long run, rather than if you don't think of it as an expense, that's not it's an investment.
Oh, absolutely. And a lot of people also with buyer's agents, they think that why would I pay whatever they cost, 10 grand, 12 grand, when that's just on top of the purchase price. My argument to that is a good buyer's agent should be able to identify you under market value properties. So you're maximising that at a point in time, at the time of purchase. But thinking about what you are buying and what you intend to do in the future, stuff that can give you upside potential with, some development work or splitting it and subdivisions and all that sort of stuff. So buying for the future as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's good. Well, happy for you, mate.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Yeah, it's an exciting time.
We'll get you back in. Let's see how this first purchase goes. You have to
I'll let
tell
you
us
know
where you
once we
buy.
bought.
And
yeah. Hopefully we won't be talking about pitfalls.
Maybe
at that
the
point.
biggest mistake I've made. What's the biggest mistake you've made so far in buying property, do you think?
Well, to be honest, I really wish I'd have an opportunity to make a mistake. It's just, we're waiting, there hasn't been any mistakes yet.
Yeah.
Thank God. Look, we've only signed the paperwork off with the buyer's agent and the mortgage broker now, so it's, very embryonic stages. But
are you worried about it? Is there anything that's worrying about it? Worrying you about?
Oh, well, I think, taking on a huge amount of debt is you'd be foolish not to, not to be omnipresent in your mind. There should be a level of worry there. Anyone who isn't worrying about taking on a hefty mortgage is a foolish man in my eyes, a foolish person in my eyes. But yeah, look, it's nervous excitement as well. So just looking forward to getting the first one.
How are you going to celebrate your first purchase?
Oh, I don't know, mate. Yeah, a couple of VBs down the tea gardens.
Where it all happens. It's good. Well, thanks for that, mate. And let's keep abreast of this journey, and let's get you back on. You can tell us all about it. No, it's a good one. Plenty of stories like that on smartpropertyinvestment.com.au. If you're new to the podcast, stay abreast, stay in tune, and the purpose of it is to try and share these stories of property investors, whether they're buying their first property like Will here and his brother, or they've got large portfolios, 20, 30, 40, 50 properties. So all shapes and sizes on the Smart Property Investment Show. And if you want to come on and share your story, please do. You can email the team editor@smartpropertyinvestment.com.au. But if you just want to keep abreast of what we're doing, smartpropertyinvestment.com.au, or you can follow us on social media, Smart Property HQ. You can track us down there and see what we're up to. We'll be back again next time. Until then, bye-bye.
The information featured in this podcast is general in nature and does not take into consideration your financial situation or individual needs and should not be relied upon. Before making any investment, insurance, tax, property or financial planning decision, you should consult a licensed professional who can advise whether your decision is appropriate for you. Guests appearing on this podcast may have a commercial relationship with the companies mentioned.